What up, it's Dane here. In this video I'm going to tell you how to get rid of belly fat. Just imagine how confident you'll feel in clothes and everything, take your shirt off, all of that stuff when you got rid of your belly fat. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Let me begin by saying you can lose belly fat without doing high intensity interval training, dying on a treadmill and doing like tons of ab exercises. One thing to mention as well, you will not find any of this information anywhere else on YouTube. So let's begin by talking about why you've actually got stubborn belly fat. Okay, so there are two types of receptors, beta receptors and alpha receptors. The beta receptors increase fat breakdown and the alpha receptors decrease fat breakdown. So think about it like this. The beta male is the good one, the one that will allow us to lose fat. However, the alpha male is the bad one that's not going to allow us to lose fat. So the beta male in this case is the good one, whereas the alpha male is the bad one. So here's the reason why you have stubborn belly fat. You obviously have more alpha receptors in your belly. One thing to mention as well that's also very important is the blood flow. And in the body there are certain fat depots that have poorer blood flow than others. Okay, let's do a quick experiment. Okay, so touch a part of your body that you lose fat more easily, for example maybe your shoulders. Now this should feel fairly warm. Now touch a more stubborn area like your lower abdominal belly fat or even your butt. Now this probably feels stone cold compared to your nice warm shoulders. Let me know in the comment section down below if this has worked for you or not. I'm real interested to see. So this experiment clearly shows there is more blood flow in the areas that we can easily lose fat or that's not stubborn, whereas the areas that are really stubborn like the lower abdominal belly fat, maybe the thighs, maybe the lower back, there's very little blood flow there and it's stone cold. Okay, so here are the consequences of having poor blood flow when it comes to stubborn belly fat. The blood hormones cannot get into the fat cells, which means it's a lot harder for the fat to get away from the fat cells as the blood cannot enter it. More alpha receptors means more vasoconstriction, which basically means less blood flow. Okay, so now we understand why we have this stupid lower abdominal belly fat or just these stubborn areas. Let's begin talking about the practical steps that you can do today in order to get rid of this belly fat. So we need to understand to lose fat, our energy expenditure needs to be greater than our energy intake. Our energy intake is the food, whereas the energy expenditure is your basal metabolic rate, your thermic effect of food, your thermic effect of activity, and your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Now we won't go way too much into detail about these. And the main reason being is because all of these are not static, especially when it comes to energy expenditure. These can vary from day to day, month to month, person to person, obviously. So now that we know that we need to eat in a calorie deficit, in order to calculate your calorie deficit, for males, just do 13 times your body weight in pounds, and for females do 12 times your body weight in pounds. Now you probably think, oh, whoa, have I got to track my calories here? You certainly don't, but I'll get to that in a minute. So one aspect that we can actually control when it comes to energy expenditure out of those four properties or factors, whatever you want to call them, is the thermic effect of activity. Basically meaning how many calories we burn when we do cardio or any physical exercise. So the big question that everyone asks is, what type of cardio is best, man? I want to lose the stubborn belly fat. Tell me the best cardio. And the answer is, whether you like it or not, is it doesn't really matter what cardio you do. Hence why at the start of the video I said you don't need to kill yourself on a treadmill, because you certainly don't. Whether you do low intensity state cardio for 1 hour compared to high intensity interval training for about 10 minutes, it really doesn't matter as long as the calories are equal. And now sadly there's no way we can really tell how many calories are being burned exactly when we do this type of cardio. Now sadly we don't actually know how many calories we're burning when we do 1 hour of treadmill or maybe 10 to 15 minutes of shit mountain climbers and burpees and having blood on our throat. So the answer you probably don't want to hear, or maybe you do, is just do the cardio that suits you, the one you like the most. Now if you're that individual that wants to lose this belly fat fast, you're probably also thinking, okay, fasted? Should I do cardio fasted or should I eat before I do the cardio? Some people are telling me this, some people are telling me that, and I'm going to tell you the real answer backed by science like usual. Here's exactly why it does not matter. Fasted cardio is not any better because number one, it does not provide a protein sparing effect. Number two, it does not increase energy expenditure. And number three, it does not decrease food intake. So again, eat before you do cardio or don't eat, it doesn't matter. Now let's get into some weight training, because some people claim that, okay, do a lot of weight training to burn a lot of calories in order to lose this fat fast. And to be completely honest with you, this is total bullshit. Weight training burns maybe about 100 calories, and again, I can't tell you the exact number, but it's a very small number of calories. The amount of calories that's being burned also depends on the amount of volume you do, basically sets times reps, and obviously how long your workout is. Take into account you don't rest like 15 minutes in between each set. It's all about how much volume you do. And the main reason why most people will tell you do weight training in order to lose belly fat is because it just improves your body composition. Meaning, when you do lose your abdominal belly fat or whatever belly fat you want to lose, you would have still built some muscle by doing weight training, and I highly recommend you do weight training when trying to lose belly fat. Because let's face it, man, anyone can lose weight, but weight is not the same as fat. If you lose weight, you might even end up looking shitter and just like a real thin stick. Okay, for those of you who don't want to track calories, which is absolutely fine, I need to mention one thing though. I do advise people track the calories maybe for just like 2 weeks so they can get a rough estimate of how many calories they're eating, because most people don't really understand how many calories they're really consuming. And the most important part is that tracking your calories will give you manageable and accurate results. For example, if you're not losing fat and you definitely know you're consuming 2,500 calories per day for 2 weeks, there's no water retention that's going on or anything like that, that's finished, then you know you need to decrease your caloric intake, and then you know you will get that fat loss. Whereas if you're not tracking your calories, you're playing a little bit of a guessing game, especially if you're not experienced. Okay, for those of you that are just real lazy and don't want to track your calories, by the way, I'm just joking. Here's exactly what to do. Increase your protein intake, because we all know that protein provides a lot of satiety. Eat more water-rich carbohydrates like sweet potatoes, white potatoes, and some oats. These again will provide a lot of satiety as they're high in fiber and they're quite low palatability, meaning they don't taste as nice. And talking about carbohydrates, I recommend you consume less of, let's say, pasta, rice, couscous, maybe some quinoa. And the reason being is because these carbohydrates are not as satiating as potatoes or sweet potatoes, right? And the one you probably don't want to hear is increase your vegetable intake. And let's face it, man, you've heard this a lot. You've heard this from your parents, from your grandparents, whatever. But one thing they haven't told you is that in the vegetables you really like and the ones that you can stick to. And another one you probably heard back in your 20s or whatever age you are 20 years ago is eat more fruit, right? You need to eat a lot more fruit. But be careful with this, because fruits can add up in calories. So if you're gonna eat fruit, maybe keep them a bit low calories and don't consume like 10 fruits per day. Maybe consume 1 or 2, or let's face it, it's better than eating chocolate or some shit like that. And another important one is decrease your fat intake. By listening here, by this I mean eat foods that are lower in fat content. For example, make some replacements. Instead of buying full fat yogurt, buy zero fat yogurt, stuff like that. I'm not saying completely decrease your fat intake, so don't have any oils, don't have any nut butters, because we do know fat is very important for hormone regulation. And another one that's not mentioned a lot in a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of people don't mention this, is just eat a bland diet, right? And this is not recommended if you want to stick to a diet, because we all know the best diet is the one you could stick to. However, for some people it might be optimal. Some people might like to have a bland diet, and the reason this works is because there won't be a lot of variety on your plate, so minimize this as well. For example, if you eat dinner, maybe have some chicken, broccoli, and some sweet potato, the ultimate bro meal. Now the reason this works is because you only have 3 food varieties, whereas let's say you had chicken, pasta, some tomato sauce in there, some peppers, some broccoli in there, some carrots, like loads of different food variety. It will allow you to eat a little bit more. And coming on a last tip is you might want to skip a meal. You might want to follow a diet protocol like intermittent fasting, maybe the 16-8 lean gains approach, where you just skip breakfast and then eat 2 meals. And the reason being why this really works for some people is because you only have about 8 hours in order to consume your calories, and if you consume high satiating foods, it will be a lot harder to overconsume calories and make it a lot easier to lose that stubborn belly fat. Now I did say one last tip, but it just came to mind. Also, you can eat a low carb diet, and the main reason this again works is because you're increasing your protein intake. Now I wouldn't really recommend a low carb diet for someone that's very active and always working out, but also very active in a day-to-day lifestyle. And the main reason for this is because, as we all know, Basics 101 is that carbohydrates are the primary source of energy. Okay, so how do you actually lose this stubborn belly fat? I've told you why, I've told you what you need to do, but how do you lose that last bit? Now, first of all, we need to understand that it's stubborn belly fat for a reason, right? Meaning it's gonna, like when you lose fat, it's just gonna be the last to leave the body. And one thing I have to mention as well though, is because a lot of, like, let's face it, overweight people, and you might be one of them, which is completely fine. This is why you're watching this video, is that they say, I've got a lot of stubborn belly fat, even some lower back fat, and I just can't get rid of it. When in the meantime, they're like 25% body fat, they can't see the abs at all. And let me tell you, that is not stubborn belly fat. That is just a lot of fat. You just need to lose it. You need to eat in a calorie deficit. That's all. Now that's all good and well on how to lose belly fat, but let's face it, a lot of people's aims and goals is losing this belly fat as fast as possible, which is completely fine and understandable. Okay, so here's how fast you should be losing belly fat. However, this only applies to people that are about, let's say, 20% or 25% body fat, which means you can't really see your abs at all. So for you guys, I recommend you guys eat in about 1,000 calorie deficit. Now in order to calculate this, just do a rough estimate of 15 times your body weight in pounds for the males and 14 times your body weight in pounds for the females. That will give you your calorie maintenance. So don't get hyped and saying, oh, I can eat 2,500 calories or whatever number a day and lose this much fat. Now that we have that number, minus 1,000. And this is like the depressing part. So the reason I've told you to minus 1,000 is because we all know, or I don't know, you might not know, is that the bigger the calorie deficit, which means in this case 1,000 calories, the faster the fat loss. So that being said, if you're trying to lose the stubborn belly fat fast, shoot for weight loss of your body weight in pounds per week of about 2.5 to 3%. Okay, now this is the very, very important part. It's all good and well losing fat really fast, but what's really hard and what a lot of people don't do is maintain that weight. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this. So you need to have an exit strategy. You need to find a diet protocol that you can sustain for a long period of time. For example, for myself, it's intermittent fasting. All I do is skip breakfast, and that way I can stay lean all year round. For you, it might just be to eat high satiating foods all year round, whether you eat breakfast, lunch or dinner, it doesn't matter, or just cut carbohydrates a little bit down, especially if you don't weight train a lot. So make sure you have an exercise strategy and a diet you do enjoy, or that you can at least sustain. That's so important. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, please share this with your co-workers, friends, or anyone that really needs to lose this belly fat, because in my opinion, you won't find this information anywhere else on YouTube. Well, you will, just not at the start of the video. I haven't seen anyone else do that. But anyway, it's not about me, it's about you. That's how to lose belly fat. Like the video if you liked it. But more importantly, I don't really care about like. I care about that you share it with your friends and that you comment down below and engage with me. Leave any comments or questions. I'll be happy to help. Or if you're too shy, just direct message me on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. That's that. As always, stay positive, stay smiling, let's lose this belly fat, and this was the ultimate guide on how to get rid of belly fat. One thing I have to mention as well is that when I spoke about not tracking calories and gave all the tips, one thing I have to mention is that there is no best diet, and just by me telling you to eat a bland diet, there is no best diet. There's no like you have to cut carbohydrates or anything like that. You just have to eat in a calorie deficit. So that's Dane Knighton's disclaimer.
No, there ain't no stopping us.